Hello guys, welcome back to our anime explainer. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel, thank you. Today is explanation of Martial Universe episode number 9 based on novel. So let's start. After that earth-shattering battle, Lin Dong's figure was imprinted in their hearts, just like that of a war deity. At this juncture, if Lin Dong asked them to form an alliance, even Mulei and the rest would not dare to object at all. Little brother Lin Dong. A bunch of famed Great Desolate Province elite practitioners were all smiles as they cupped their fists and respectfully greeted him. Yeah. Have you finished dividing up the spoils? Lin Dong turned around, before he glanced at Mulei and the rest and gently smiled. Ha ha, we wouldn't dare to. Since little brother Lin Dong has not spoken, how would we dare to? Mulei hurriedly smiled and replied. Sect leader Mu is good with words. Lin Dong smiled. As he stared at these sect leaders who were acting respectfully in front of him, his thoughts drifted away. Half a year ago, none of them even took him seriously. However, right now, their words were filled with fear and respect. In just half a year's time, Lin Dong had undergone a revolutionary transformation. And the source of this transformation was the devouring ancestral symbol. This heavenly object was truly extraordinary. Without the devouring ancestral symbol, it would be impossible for Lin Dong to reach half-step to manifesting stage in half a year's time. I am not really interested in the ghastly puppet cult's territories. In fact, perhaps I have already stayed too long in the Great Desolate Province. These things should ultimately belong to all of you. When they heard his words, an unconcealed joy surged in Mulei and the rest's eyes. Little brother Lin Dong, don't worry. In the future, these 3 words, ghastly puppet cult, shall never appear in Great Desolate Province again. Furthermore, as soon as we catch wind of any plot against little brother Lin Dong, we would immediately report it to you. Mulei solemnly echoed. Besides, this time around I expended quite a lot of resources as well. The ghastly puppet cult is extremely wealthy, and I can't be bothered to ransack them. How about you guys hand me 2 million pure yuan pills and treat it as my compensation for finishing off ghastly puppet cult? Lin Dong gently smiled as he softly said, 2 million pure yuan pills. When they heard this amount, Mulei and the rest were shocked, while their eyes gently glimmered. Promptly, they gritted their teeth before they said, all right. Don't worry little brother Lin Dong. Give us 1 day to prepare, and we will definitely deliver to you 2 million pure yuan pills. 2 million pure yuan pills was perhaps an astronomical figure to most ordinary factions. However, for elite factions like Great Devil Sect, it was not out of their reach. Furthermore, as long as they could obtain the ghastly puppet cult's territories, 2 million pure yuan pills was a small price to pay. Most importantly, they did not dare to rebuff Lin Dong. Else, the ghastly puppet cult could merely just be the warm-up. All right. I will give you guys 1 day. There is something inside the ghastly puppet cult mountain that I am quite interested in. You guys stay here and clean up the mess. Do not disturb me. While the entire mountain was in upheaval, Lin Dong entered deep into the mysterious Black Yin Mountain alone. Beside him, Little Flame closely followed. Previously, Lin Dong had given this fellow over 10,000 pure yuan pills, the vigorous energy allowing Little Flame's wounds to swiftly recover by quite a lot. There seems to be something strange in this mysterious Black Yin Mountain. Little Martin appeared on Lin Dong's shoulder. The deeper they penetrated, the more it seemed to sense something. Yeah, there is indeed a special area within this mysterious Black Yin Mountain in Ting Sho's memories. Lin Dong smiled a little while quickly following the secret path into the mountain. This used to be an important place to the ghastly puppet cult, and even some elders were not allowed to enter. Yet, now that Ting Sho had died, the guards here naturally dispersed, thus nothing hindered Lin Dong as he entered the cave-like tunnel. A man and 2 beasts walked in the somewhat dark tunnel, while waves of gloomy and cold chi continuously gushed out from the cave. However, this kind of cold chi clearly was of no threat towards the Lin Dong and Little Flame, who had spent a long time in the mysterious Black Yin crevice. Hence, they did not stop as they followed the tunnel and continued to penetrate deeper into the enormous mountain. This silent journey lasted for several tens of minutes. The mysterious Black Yin Mountain was extremely extensive, and according to their estimation, Lin Dong and gang should be gradually reaching the center of the mysterious Black Yin Mountain. We're here. Some light suddenly appeared in the passage ahead of them as Lin Dong's feet stopped, and the yuan power in his body swiftly started to churn. He had a cautious nature, and would naturally not be careless in this kind of place. Roar. Little Flame also released a low roar, as scarlet light flickered on its body. The scarlet python on its back also lifted its body as a formidable cold chi gathered at its mouth. After finishing all their preparations, Lin Dong once again lifted his foot. Soon after, the space before his eyes suddenly widened, the narrow tunnel disappearing as an incomparably humongous stone cave took its place. Lin Dong, there seems to be something inside the black hole. Little Martin looked towards the pitch-black cave that seemed to connect to the underground and said. Lin Dong nodded his head. The top of his foot pushed off the ground and he landed on the edge of the humongous black hole, his pupils instantly tightening as he cast a glance inside. Darkness filled the humongous cave, but this kind of darkness was of no use towards Lin Dong. Thus, the scene within was clearly taken in by his eyes. The first things that entered his eyes were giant chains that were even larger than a human's body. These chains were attached to the surrounding cave walls and there were rows of strange symbols on them. Due to the existence of these symbols, the chains immediately became somewhat peculiar, as thin rays of light shuttled back and forth on the chains, as if they possessed some form of intelligence. Lin Dong's eyes paused on these giant chains for several seconds, before he suddenly turned towards the place where all the chains interweaved, only to find a completely red figure seated in the darkness. The figure's forelimbs and neck were firmly bounded by the chains, and every time the lights on the chains flowed to the blood-colored figure's body, the latter's body would slightly tremble. This is. Lin Dong stared in shock at the blood-colored figure, which had been bounded tightly by the giant symbol chains. It was hard to imagine that there was actually such a strange sight within the mysterious Black Yin Mountain. Although he had obtained some of Ting Sho's memories, that fellow seemed to especially fearful of this scene, resulting in Lin Dong being unable to acquire these memories. The figure's body appeared blood-red in color, as if it had been dyed in endless fresh blood. Although it did not move, a ruthless and fiendish sky-shattering aura faintly spread out. Such terrifying power. As he felt the terrifying fiendish aura that circled around the figure, Lin Dong's expression abruptly changed. Who exactly was this blood figure? Why was it trapped here? Could this have been done by the ghastly puppet cult? That's not a person, it's a symbol puppet. However, just as Lin Dong's gaze flickered, little Martin suddenly exclaimed. Although Lin Dong had never personally seen a soul puppet before and did not know exactly how powerful it would be, he now knew that at least under the Nirvana stage, no one would be a soul puppet's match. How can the ghastly puppet cult possess a soul puppet? If it was truly so, couldn't Ting Sho have just directly summoned it? Lin Dong was a little taken aback, as he lowered his head and took a closer look at the dark hole. Only then did he discover that not only were there symbols on the chains, even the walls were covered in rows of symbols. These symbols should have existed for a rather long time, because some of them had already become much dimmer. Although the symbols were dim, Lin Dong could still sense the great power contained within them. Given the ghastly puppet cult's strength, they were indeed unable to set up this kind of ceiling formation. Looks like it was truly as little Martin had said, this mysterious soul puppet had existed even before the ghastly puppet cult. Why did those people want to seal this soul puppet? It would be a great aid after all. Little Martin stared at the blood figure seated in the darkness, and was silent for a while before suddenly answering, because it is a blood soul puppet. Blood soul puppet. Lin Dong was taken aback. Let's go, we need to destroy the passageway, or else, it will be troublesome if other people enter. Lin Dong shook his head, intending to turn and leave. Wait. However, little Martin waved its claws. When it saw the puzzled gaze Lin Dong shot at it, it let out a strange laugh and said, "Isn't it a pity to let go of this super fighter that was practically sent to our doorstep? You have a way to subdue this blood soul puppet." Upon hearing little Martin's words, delight suddenly gushed up in Lin Dong's eyes. "I do not, but it has." Little Martin's claws suddenly pointed towards Lin Dong's palm, or one might say the mysterious stone talisman embedded within. Do you mean, the mysterious stone talisman? Lin Dong's eyes turned to look at his own palm, while he was slightly taken aback. Promptly, he quickly regained his senses while delight swiftly gushed into his eyes. Yes. Little Martin nodded its head before it said, "The mysterious stone talisman is filled with mysteries. Based on its strength alone, it is able to seal the blood soul puppet. In the future, if you continue to train with it, you can probably subdue it. Are you certain that we are able to seal the blood soul puppet with the strength of the mysterious stone talisman alone? Lin Dong gripped his palm before he involuntarily asked. This was no laughing matter. At that time, if he truly released the blood soul puppet, and he was unable to seal it, then he would probably become the first casualty of that blood soul puppet. Even though I am not totally confident, I believe that we have at least a 70% chance. Little Martin hesitated for a moment before it said, if you can advance to Nirvana stage, you can easily activate the stone talisman and seal this blood soul puppet. Little Martin's eyes were slightly solemn as he stared at Lin Dong and said, furthermore, let me tell you this. Previously, I felt an extremely peculiar sensation hidden deep within his body. That fellow is definitely no ordinary man. Even though your strength has surged significantly, if the two of you really fought, the outcome would still be uncertain. What is inside his body? Lin Dong's face gently changed. Little Martin had never told him about this matter. I am not certain as well. I only felt it for an instant when we were in front of the martial manifestation tablet, before that sensation immediately slipped away. Therefore, even I am not certain of it. Perhaps it could just be a mistake. Nonetheless, it's always best to be prudent. Little Martin deeply echoed. This Lin Langtian not only possessed extraordinary cultivation talent, but he possessed extremely good fortune as well. Therefore, it is not impossible that he would have had a chance encounter over all these years. Furthermore, with the full backing of the Lin clan, notwithstanding the younger generation members, even in the entire Great Yang dynasty, most factions' leaders could not hold a candle to him. Right now, you and Lin Langtian have completely fallen out. When you go and attend the next family meeting, he would surely make a move on you. However, if you can subdue this blood soul puppet, you would have nothing to fear. In that case, Lin Langtian's battle ability would be truly terrifying. If Lin Dong fought with him, it would be like a battle between two tigers, and it would be extremely fierce. Moreover, the most important thing was that Lin Langtian was the most prized genius in Lin clan's history. If he chose to fight with Lin Langtian, he would likely encounter some resistance from within the Lin clan. At that time, Lin Dong would need an ace up his sleeve to suppress the Lin clan. Right now, this mysterious blood soul puppet was practically a God-given gift. All right, let's give it a go. After contemplating for a while, the hesitation in Lin Dong's eyes finally dissipated before he solemnly nodded his head and spoke deeply. No matter what, for the upcoming family meeting, he wanted to give the most dazzling performance and no one shall stand in his way. When it heard his words, little Martin nodded his head. Promptly, its eyes somewhat solemnly turned to look at that dark cave before it said, this seal is fairly mysterious. However, the energy source comes from the yin energy gushing out from the ground. Once we shut off the yin energy, this seal will crumble on its own. At that time, when that seal is broken, I shall activate the mysterious stone talisman and seal the blood soul puppet within the stone talisman. Once that blood soul puppet is inside the mysterious stone talisman, it would have to surrender eventually. Alright, let me shut off the yin energy. The instant that bloody shadow lifted its head, two blood-red eyes appeared in front of Lin Dong. There was not a trace of emotion within those eyes. Instead, it was filled with endless cruelty and viciousness, just like that of a wild beast. Blood soul puppet has awoken. As he was being stared by those blood-red eyes, Lin Dong's entire body turned icy-cold. At the same time, all of the potent yuan power inside his body started to quickly gush forth, just like a tidal wave, roar. The redness in that blood soul puppet's eyes intensified. In the next instant, a beast-like growl suddenly sounded out from its mouth. Promptly, it shook its body before it completely shattered all the chains binding onto its limbs. After they lost the power from the seals, those metallic chains would obviously be unable to bind that blood soul puppet. That blood soul puppet was dragging along a near 12-meter-long metallic chain. After it was freed by that seal, its blood-red eyes were tightly locked onto Lin Dong's body. The bloody sensation that emerged from the latter's body caused the redness in its eyes to intensify. Huala. As the red hue in its eyes intensified, that blood soul puppet's figure flashed before it lightning quick appeared in midair above the cave. Then, Those large metallic chains brought forth a woo-woo breaking wind sound before they viciously flew towards Lin Dong. Furthermore, at the same time, a peculiar bloody energy was stuck on those large chains. When he saw that blood soul puppet's incoming attack, Lin Dong was stunned. He could sense just how formidable that bloody energy was. Therefore, he naturally did not dare to forcefully counter against it as he quickly retreated. When he saw this sight, Lin Dong was instantly delighted. It's not going to be so simple. However, little Martin chose to shake its head helplessly. Boom. After little Martin's voice landed, a bloody arm forcefully cut through that cocoon formed from energy threads, just like sharp blade, while a terrifyingly killing intent slowly emerged, causing Lin Dong's expression to turn increasingly grim. That blood soul puppet's strength was recovering at a terrifying rate. After tearing apart the energy cocoon, the blood soul puppet figure moved, transforming into a blurry blood figure as it swept forth. In an instant, Lin Dong saw the blood figure appear before his eyes as a giant chain viciously whipped towards his head with an extremely terrifying force. Bang bang. Upon seeing this, Lin Dong was greatly alarmed. With a thought, the ground in front of him directly burst apart, and under the control of powerful mental energy, a wall of earth abruptly jutted out, forming into a defensive layer before him. However, just as the earth wall formed, the giant chain barbarically arrived. Immediately the earth wall crumbled as a ripple which could be seen with the naked eye swiftly spread outwards, causing spider web-like cracks to form on the ground. At this moment, Lin Dong was quickly retreating, his hand grasping around the ancient heavenly scales halberd that appeared. In an instant, his body was covered by a thick layer of glass-colored luster. In the face of such a terrifying and terrible creature, Lin Dong did not dare lower his guard at all. The earth wall exploded to bits as the blood figure flew out from a sky full of dirt. Giant metal chains were like vipers exiting their caves, as they shot towards Lin Dong with the intention to hurt at extremely tricky angles. The blood soul puppet's attacks seemed to faintly contain traces of martial arts movements, causing Lin Dong to be incomparably shocked as he made note not to be the slightest bit careless. With golden yuan power enveloping his body, Lin Dong's halberd danced as the heavenly scales halberd technique was displayed in a natural and flowing manner, completely blocking all the metal chains that shot towards him. At every clash, astonishing energy ripples appeared, causing crack after crack to extend on the ground. The instant he dodged, a metal chain viciously shot over, deeply burying into the wall as meter-wide cracks swiftly spread out. When he saw this ferocious force, cold sweat covered Lin Dong's head. Bastard, you are still not done. With lingering fear in his heart, Lin Dong could not help but angrily shout at the nearby little Martin. When he saw that little Martin still did not plan to step in, Lin Dong could only curse. The ancient halberd in his hand hastily thrust out, blocking a metal chain that ferociously shot over, but his body was once again jolted backwards, as he retreated about 10 steps, while the chi and blood in his body surged. This blood soul puppet is getting stronger and stronger. As he felt the degree of power behind the blood soul puppet's attack, Lin Dong's expression changed. The blood soul puppet's strength was recovering too rapidly. If this continued, he will not last for long. Blood, I want blood. However, the blood soul puppet did not give Lin Dong too much time to catch his breath. Its scarlet eyes were full of bloodthirst as they stared unwaveringly at Lin Dong. Crash. The blood soul puppet's body trembled as it once again charged forward. This time, it left behind an after image in the air, showing how quick it was. Upon seeing this, Lin Dong's expression changed. Just as his figure was about to back away, the blood soul puppet appeared before him, bringing with it the pungent smell of blood. A blood-red arm, which looked as if the skin had been torn from it, was swift as lightning as it clawed at Lin Dong's throat. Blood light flickered at its fingertips, displaying a sharp force that would not lose to a high-grade soul treasure. This strike of the blood soul puppet was extremely ferocious, and the blood arm rapidly enlarged in Lin Dong's pupils. However, just as Lin Dong was about to defend, the blood soul puppet's body suddenly stopped. A giant scarlet red python had shot over from behind and was firmly coiling around its waist, causing it to be unable to advance. Little Flame. When he saw the sudden help, Lin Dong felt a little glad in his heart. His gaze shifted and sure enough, he found Little Flame had flung out its python tail, and was firmly stopping the blood soul puppet. Roar. Little Flame released a roar as blood light erupted from all over its body. It actually directly towed the blood soul puppet, before swirling it around twice in the air, and viciously flinging it into the cave wall. Boom. The entire cave once again shook as an immense and deep hole appeared on the cave wall. As a demonic beast, the power that it could abruptly bring forth was rather frightening, and even the blood soul puppet was thrown by it. However, although the blood soul puppet had been thrown, it was clearly unable to do any damage to it. Thus, a blood arm once again crawled out from the deep hole, as the fiendish aura from the blood soul puppet's body grew increasingly terrifying. Crash. After walking out of the deep hole, the blood soul puppet's arm jolted as a giant metal chain tore through the air and quickly shot towards Little Flame. The mysterious stone talisman laid quietly on Lin Dong's palm, while a warm milky-like glow slowly scattered off. Under the glow of that light, even Lin Dong's boiling inner blood began to gradually calm down. Did it work? Lin Dong stared in shock at that stone talisman in his palm, as he felt lost for a moment. That vicious blood soul puppet was actually this quickly sealed off. What more do you want? Little Martin's lethargic voice sounded out, while it rolled its eyes at Lin Dong. In order to activate the sealing powers of the stone talisman, it had taken quite a bit of its strength. That blood soul puppet has not completely recovered yet. Therefore, with help from the stone talisman, it is not too difficult to seal it. Of course, this was all thanks to the stone talisman. Without its help, no manifestation practitioner can hope to match up against it. Lin Dong was somewhat stunned as he happily nodded his head. After that previous exchange, he clearly knew the strength of that blood soul puppet. Furthermore, at that time, that blood soul puppet was not at its peak condition yet. In the future, if he could completely subdue it, it would definitely be extremely beneficial for him. Let's head into the stone talisman and check out the seal. Lin Dong gripped the stone talisman in his hand, before it gradually fused into his palm. Then, with a flick of his mind, a trace of mental energy immediately headed into the stone talisman. Inside the stone talisman, Lin Dong was hovering in mid-air. At a short distance away from him was a large air bubble. The air bubble was plastered with numerous symbols, which formed into layers of a powerful seal. In the middle of that air bubble, the blood soul puppet was now viciously bashing against it. However, right now it was just like a turtle in the jar. Even though Lin Dong was unable to activate the power of the stone talisman, in this domain, the latter's life was in his control. Lin Dong closely stared at that blood soul puppet inside the air bubble. He could see that the countless symbols surrounding the gas bubble were continuously tunneling into the latter's body. Furthermore, each time those symbols entered into its body, the viciousness in its eyes would dim slightly, as if it was being washed away by those symbols. This seal formation is able to gradually reduce the viciousness of the blood soul puppet. However, right now you are far too weak. Therefore, this step will take quite a long time. Little Martin suddenly appeared beside Lin Dong, before it took a glance at that blood soul puppet that was struggling furiously inside the air bubble, and said, "Put a trace of your mental energy inside the formation." After it spoke, Little Martin continued speaking. Lin Dong nodded his head. Then, his mind moved, before a trace of mental energy floated off and promptly fused with that air bubble. After that trace of mental energy successfully fused, ripples instantly appeared on top of that air bubble. Then, that trace of mental energy was split apart, before it stuck itself onto every symbol and continuously tunneled into the blood soul puppet's body. Theoretically speaking, yes. Little Martin nodded his head. When it saw Lin Dong's tightly furrowed eyebrows, it lazily waved its claws and said, "However, at a truly critical juncture, you can summon it. However, remember this, you cannot do it for a long period of time. Without the stone talisman suppressing it, the blood soul puppet will once again be driven by rage, and then it will even bite back." When he heard its words, Lin Dong slightly heaved a sigh of relief. Nonetheless, even having momentary control of this blood soul puppet provided him with a great deal of additional security. Though this blood soul puppet is extremely powerful, it has not reached its peak condition yet. After you can completely control it, perhaps we can think of ways to upgrade it. Little Martin stared at that blood soul puppet inside the air bubble as it said, "Oh. Is there a way to upgrade the strength of this blood soul puppet?" Lin Dong was stunned. Right now, this blood soul puppet is already terrifyingly powerful. If it was upgraded, then wouldn't it be able to dominate the entire Great Yang dynasty? Of course it is possible. However, you will require Nirvana pills to do so. Let me see. Soul puppet are split into 9 grades, just like the 9 Nirvana stages. Right now, this soul puppet should be a grade 1 soul puppet. If it devours another 180,000 Nirvana pills, it should be able to advance to grade 2 soul puppet. At that time, it would be equivalent to a second stage Nirvana practitioner. Little Martin released a weird laugh as it said, 180,000 Nirvana pills. When he heard its words, Lin Dong's lips instantly started to twitch. Previously, inside the Great Wasteland's ancient tablet, he had fought bitterly just to snatch hundreds of Nirvana pills from Lin Langtian. That fact alone was enough to cause the latter to hate him till his bones. However, he never expected that in order to upgrade this blood-soul puppet, he would require such a massive amount of nirvana pills. In fact, even amongst all the elite factions in Great Yang Dynasty, there will only be a rare few that could afford such a sum. Furthermore, right now, you are about to advance to the manifestation stage. Hence, you should start preparing to attack Nirvana stage. Based on my calculations, in order to gather enough Nirvana energy to attack Nirvana stage, you would need roughly the same amount of pills as well. Little Martin lazily said. Lin Dong smiled as he nodded his head. Though he did not dislike those factions like Great Devil Sect, he was not fond of them as well. Therefore, there was no need for him to give them too much of the loot. All right, let's go. Leave this area first and let the blood-soul puppet be slowly cleansed by the stone talisman. The rewards that we have gained this time have already far exceeded my expectations. Lin Dong waved his palm, before his spiritual body began to gradually dissipate. Then, little Martin took a glance at that blood-soul puppet inside the air bubble, before its body began to gradually disappear from this stone talisman spiritual domain as well. Inside the cave, Lin Dong's tightly shut eyes slowly opened. Then, without further ado, he waved at Little Flame before he turned around and walked out of the cave. Lin Dong followed his footsteps and journeyed back. When he exited the cave, he also chose to destroy his path. Finally, he strolled casually towards the mountain peak. When Lin Dong once again resurfaced on the mysterious Black Yin mountain peak, the previously chaotic situation had now mostly been cooled down by Great Devil Sect and other factions. Most of their members were rampaging through the ghastly puppet cult headquarters searching for various types of treasures. Standing on the mountain peak, when Mulei and the rest saw Lin Dong appear, they immediately stopped what they were doing. Based on their actions, they were evidently extremely respectful and courteous towards him. After today's earth-shattering battle, there were probably no factions in the entire Great Desolate Province that dared to disrespect Lin Dong. Sect Leader Mu, it seems like you guys are putting in a lot of effort for the search. Lin Dong smiled as he stared at those burglar-like crew that were ransacking the ghastly puppet cult. Ha ha, little brother Lin Dong, what are you talking about? I will stay here for one more day. Tomorrow, hand me my promised pure yuan pills and I shall depart. You guys are free to decide on how to divide the ghastly puppet cult's territories. Lin Dong kept those nirvana pills, before he glanced at Mulei and the rest and gently smiled. Where is little brother Lin Dong headed to? If you don't mind, our Great Devil Sect lacks a vice sect leader. Ha ha, right now, my girl is right at marriageable age. When he heard his words, Mulei immediately spoke, Father. Standing behind Mulei, when Mu Qianqian heard his words, her beautiful cheeks immediately burned. She looked extremely alluring. Standing aside, Wu Zong and the rest were stunned, before they promptly cursed secretly in their hearts. However, they did not have a daughter that was just as attractive, therefore, they could only continuously rub their palms. Ha ha, thank you for your offer, Sect Leader Mu. However, I will leave Great Desolate Province soon and I may never have the chance to return. Therefore, I cannot accept your generous gift. Lin Dong involuntarily smiled. In order to recruit him, that old fellow even planned to sacrifice his own daughter. Nonetheless, his main target was not in this place. When he thought of this, Lin Dong slowly lifted his head as he stared towards the northern horizon. Lin Langtian, 2 years' time is almost up. However, this time around, do you still have the qualifications to behave disrespectfully in front of me? The next day, Lin Dong quietly sat atop a boulder on the mysterious Black Yin mountaintop. His eyes were tightly shut, while portions of vigorous yuan power converged around his body at an astonishing speed. The moment these yuan power touched Lin Dong's body, they would be completely devoured by a strange devouring power, before being transformed into surging yuan power and flowing in his body. This silent cultivation lasted for about 2 hours, before Lin Dong's tightly shut eyes slowly opened. Without turning his head, he asked in an indifferent tone, is everything ready? Could there still be someone in this great desolate province today, who dares to not obey young master Lin Dong's instructions? A gentle voice replied from behind Lin Dong, it's Miss Qianqian. For this kind of small matter, any servant can come to deliver it. Lin Dong could not help but chuckle as he tilted his head and looked at the slender and elegant beauty behind him. There are 2 million pure yuan pills here. This number is no small matter even for our great devil sect, but with young Master Lin Dong's service this time, this little reward is not worthy. Mu Qianqian hoisted the purplish-black Qinkuan bag in her lily white hand and sweetly smiled. It was just a grudge between me and the ghastly puppet cult. I'll just casually take these rewards. Lin Dong received the Qinkuan bag and stuffed it into his clothes without even glancing at it. Does young Master Lin Dong really plan on leaving the Great Desolate Province? With your current popularity in the Great Desolate Province, you will only need to wave an arm to gather a huge number of men and become a tyrant. Mu Qianqian softly said. I have no interest in becoming a tyrant. Moreover, Miss Qianqian, if I really do so, the one that will be worried will be your great devil sect, right? Lin Dong shook his head and jokingly replied. In the past, the so-called advanced manifestation stage was practically an untouchable existence for Lin Dong, hence, he did not understand it too clearly. Yet, now that his strength had grown, he increasingly felt that some rumors he had heard of previously were absurd. At least, the power the Lin clan possessed was far from what he had thought. And it was because of this that he tried every means possible to seal the blood soul puppet to gain another card for himself. The Lin clan has talented people in spades. Furthermore, the clan gathering is a place where many geniuses cross swords. To distinguish oneself from there will not be an easy matter. Moreover, young Master Lin Dong has a very serious grudge with the overwhelmingly gifted Lin Langtian. Even in the entire Great Yang Empire younger generation, people who can rival him can be said to be existences as rare as a phoenix feather or unicorn horn. There will definitely be a ferocious battle when young Master Lin Dong goes forth to participate in the clan gathering. While speaking about the Lin clan gathering, Mu Qianqian had a solemn expression. Evidently, she knew of this extremely important clan gathering. Why? Does Miss Qianqian believe that I am not Lin Langtian's match? Lin Dong mildly smiled and asked. Even the advanced manifestation stage Ting Sho died at young Master Lin Dong's hands. How could I possibly dare to doubt young Master Lin Dong's strength? I only want to remind young Master Lin Dong that he will likely face many hindrances in the clan gathering. Since that is so, why not stay in the Great Desolate Province and make big plans? Mu Qianqian's eyes flowed as she gently smiled. Ha ha, this Great Desolate Province cannot hold my heart. Since Miss Mu Qianqian does not believe I am Lin Langtian's match, quietly wait for news in the Great Desolate Province. I have never feared anyone in my journey. It does not matter if Lin Langtian is a favored son of heaven, this time. I will make him pay a true price. Lin Dong heartily laughed at the heavens. To think that he was this worthy till Mu Qianqian herself wanted to try to recruit him to join the Great Devil Sect. However, he had no intention of joining them at all. Immediately, he took a look at the time, then without further ado, a whistle sounded out from his lips. Immediately, little flame transformed into a bloody glow and dashed over. Mu Qianqian, before I leave, on behalf of my request, please ask the Great Devil Sect to take care of the Eagle Martial Dojo in Great Eagle City. In the future, if the opportunity presents itself, I will definitely repay this favor. Farewell. Lin Dong's figure flashed before he immediately appeared on Little Flame's back. Then, he cupped his fist towards Mu Qianqian, before without further ado, he waved his palm. Then, Little Flame flapped its large bloody wings, before it transformed into a bloody flow and disappeared in the near horizon. When she saw Lin Dong leaving, Mu Qianqian gently sighed. Do you plan to directly return to Yang City? Little Martin suddenly appeared on Lin Dong's shoulder and asked. There is only 4 months left before the clan gathering. I believe that father and the rest would have left a few months earlier. Therefore, if we head to Yang City now, we would miss out on them. Lin Dong shook his head and said. The Lin clan was situated at the Great Flame Province, and it was quite far away from the Qinju Province. Since Lin Xiao and the rest were evidently not as fast as Lin Dong, it would take them several months to get there. Therefore, I would definitely leave in advance. Based on my current speed, it would take me at most 1 month to reach Great Flame Province. In the remaining 3 months, I plan to continue training. Lin Dong gradually said. You had recently made a breakthrough, and even though you are only 1 step away from manifestation stage, it is very difficult for you to break through again in a short period of time. Little Martin solemnly echoed. I want to cultivate Great Sun Thunder Body. Lin Dong stared right at Little Martin before he slowly asked, do you know how to? Right now, he had reached the peak of Jade Thunder Body. However, he had yet to advance to the final step, which is also the most powerful one, Great Sun Thunder Body. If he could successfully master Great Sun Thunder Body, Lin Dong was confident that his physical prowess would once again surge. When it heard his words, Little Martin's eyes turned increasingly solemn. It was exceedingly difficult to train one's physical body. In order to master Jade Thunder Body, Lin Dong had already suffered through much pain. Therefore, if he still wanted to upgrade himself, it would be an exceedingly difficult task. However, little Martin was also clearly aware of what Lin Dong was thinking of. For this clan gathering, he must achieving an outstanding result. Though it is very difficult, there is a way indeed. However, I must remind you, you will have to suffer. After contemplating for a moment, little Martin finally opened its mouth and spoke gradually. Upon hearing these words, Lin Dong softly sighed in relief, a small smile on his face as he said, "As long as I have a single breath remaining, I will not fear even a mountain of blades, or a pan full of boiling oil." For the clan gathering, he trained hard since young till this day. With so many years of hard work, how could Lin Dong give up? This video will end here. Thank you for watching.